So thank you to you all who've joined today. So I'm assuming that you're here today because you have some form of a dilemma that you want to try and coach yourself out of. So I'm going to give you a particular model, a set of tools today to be able to coach yourself out of any particular challenge that you're facing at the moment, whether that be professional or personal. Now you can also use this model to coach others. So it's a double whammy. It's a bonus on both parts. So I'd love to know in the chat, could you tell me today, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd love to know where your energy is. So how high energy or how low energy you're feeling. So 1 is your energy is through the floor, quite low, or a 10 is you're buzzing, you're ready to go, you're dying to know how to coach yourself out of any dilemma. You couldn't be any more full of energy. So I'd love to know on a scale of 1 to 10 where you are. So if you could just let me know in the chat. Just my chat here. Here we go. So we've got variety of numbers coming through. So we have Lorraine is at a 3, Liesla's at a 6, Jay's at a 6, Sarah 6, Harry at 6, Eilish is 4, Laura is 6, Sue is 5, Hey Julie's 5, Judy is 5, Maria 7, Gregory's 2.5. Okay, we'll try and raise that. But that's okay. It's good to know where you are. Simona 7 more or less. Hey Simona. And I have someone who is coming up as iPad, number 4, and Claudine is a 5. So it's good to get a read of where the energy is. Now the reason I do that, Sandy, thanks for coming in there at 5. And the reason I do that is to kind of get you guys your attention focused into the room, so that you're going to gift yourself this time, the next 35 minutes or so, to focus on yourself and to really absorb the content and to understand how you're going to apply this to your challenge. So I'm going to just come back to my screen. It just seems to have frozen here on me. Sorry about this. Yeah, can you guys still see the screen? And if I can get a yes in the chat. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Great. Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry about this. Just one more second. It's just gone and now it's back. Okay. Okay, so this is me. And so I'm going to just give you a little bit of information on why I'm qualified to talk to you about this today. So I am a leadership coach and trainer. So I've been in people development for the past 15.5 years, to be exact. And I started out in training and development for Vodafone here in Ireland back in 2006. And so my first foray into coaching would have begun then as a training specialist. I was coaching participants post-training. And then as I sort of caught the coaching bug, I took an opportunity to take a role in Canada, in Toronto, in an online brokerage. That was my first full-time coaching position, and that was over 10 years ago now. But I didn't become qualified until I was back in Dublin working for eBay, and I had the opportunity to be promoted into our coaching department. So I got my coaching qualification back in 2014. And it was at that point that I took on a team of coaching specialists. So I was coaching. I was managing coaching specialists. I was responsible for the coaching strategy for a number of different operational teams and departments at eBay. And so I was creating, designing leadership development content and incorporating coaching into that. So I've qualifications as well to beat the band. I'd love to connect you on LinkedIn. You can have a little nose at those. I won't rabbit on about them. It is nice though. I do like to take stock, and it's nice to reflect back on where you've come. So that might be a note if you're going down this whole self-coaching realm and becoming more self-aware, one nice little first pointer and action you might take away is to have a think about how far you've come. So we can often downplay our achievements and things that we've done and feel like we're stuck and we're not getting anywhere. But actually, we've come quite a long way. Even if you look at where you were 12 months ago, the things that you've learned. So that's me. I'm now running my own business and been doing that for the last 2.5 years. And I focus on developing leaders, as you can see on the screen. I predominantly work with senior leaders through coaching and training and development programs. So back to you guys. Why are you here today? What are you going to get from today? So by the end of today's session, you guys are going to be able to describe the benefits of self-coaching. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of those first up. And then as we move through the session, you're going to see a number of other benefits and you'll be able to see those in real time. You'll be able to demonstrate the use of the GROW model. So the GROW model is what I'm going to talk to you about today. It is a model that was designed for coaching other people, but it can absolutely be applied to self-coaching. And that's the one that we're going to use today. That's the one I find most effective. And then you're going to apply, as we're moving through the GROW model, you're going to apply the GROW model to your own challenge. So you're going to get to do this in real time. Now, there will be times when you look at some of the questions that I'm asking you during the model and you think, I need more time for that. Feel free to take photos or screenshots of the screens of the presentation as I'm moving through it. You will get a copy of the presentation afterwards, but just if you want to snack them in real time, you might want to work on them straight away. There will be a Q&A at the end, but feel free to post questions into the chat. I may miss them during the session, but there will be time at the end for answering those, so you could repost it if it was missed during the session. So that's what's in it for you, but so what? What's that going to give you? So you will, as a result of practicing self-coaching, you will become quicker at problem solving. And because you'll have this toolkit of a model to apply to any challenge, big or small, you will see an improvement in your confidence levels. And especially if you're a leader in an organization, you're going to see an improvement in your own coaching skills. You're going to be able to hone those because you can apply this directly to coaching and mentoring others. That skill is going to be greatly improved as well. With coaching becomes an increased self-awareness. You are on the lookout for why am I behaving in that way? Or why do I think that's so? Why do I believe that about myself? And so you're curious, you're questioning, and so your self-awareness increases with that. And you'll see a change in your mindset as well. Because of that curiosity, you won't just accept, well, this is just how it is. You'll ask, well, why is that? Why do I think that's just how it is? So we're going to explore self-limiting beliefs today as well, and those stories that we tell ourselves as to why we can't do that. And it's free. Well, low cost. If you count your time is money. So the time that you invest in it is your greatest resource. So the model that we're going to talk about today, it's the GROW model. I've mentioned it a couple of times. So the GROW model is it's a model that was designed back in the 80s by three very well-known coaches, Graham Alexander, Sir John Whitmore, and Alan Fine. So they got together and mapped out the journey of a coaching conversation or interaction. And so if you think about the GROW model as you're planning your journey, you're going to, for me, I'm say traveling from Dublin to Cork. So first of all, the goal piece of the model is where I want to identify where I'm going. What's my goal? So I want to identify the destination. I'm going to get really clear on that first. Then I want to establish where I am. Where am I currently? And that's your reality. So in that section of the model, you're trying to understand or establish exactly where are you currently in relation to point B, which is your goal. And then the options. So what's my route? What are my route options? What's going to get me there in the best or most efficient way possible? So that's where you're exploring all of your options to get you from point A, where you currently are, to your goal, point B. And then the will is your commitment. So your commitment to seeing this through, and your accountability. What other things might be standing in your way, stopping you doing that? So that's that last section, just rounding the whole model up. So on this, if you're looking for more in-depth insight into the grow, you're interested in learning a bit more about the grow model, I love Sir John Whitmore's book, and I'm giving all the references. I've given all the references to Saoirse for the post-event email, so you will get this if you want to just jot it down anyway. It's Sir John Whitmore, Coaching for Performance. Again, these tools are for coaching anyone, but they're absolutely can be applied to yourself. That is an absolutely brilliant book. So I'd suggest that as a place to start for diving into the coaching, the grow model, and practicing it yourself. So that's the grow. One thing that may be getting in your way, and that, you know, when you're going to apply these different steps of the model, something that actually 100% will get in your way is your limiting beliefs, or are your limiting beliefs. So actually, if you tell me in the chat, what's your understanding of a limiting belief? I'd love to know if anybody has a definition. What do you understand a limiting belief to mean or to be? Julie, something that stops me. Yeah. Sue, telling yourself you're not good enough. Absolutely. That's definitely one limiting belief that a lot of us hold. Harriet, something you believe that may not be true, holds you back. For example, that you can't do something. Absolutely. Sarah, something that you believe about yourself that stops you progressing. Yeah. So these are all, and Jay says, a belief that you have that gets in your way might not be true. It's definitely not true, Jay. We're going to say it's not true. So people have really well described it. What will other people think? Yeah. So people have really well described it there. Thank you for those inputs. They're stories that we tell ourselves, and they're stories that we tell ourselves from childhood, because of experiences that we've had, because of opinions of parents, or a very challenging boss that you might have had in your younger years. Or a particularly influential friend who used to tell you something about yourself. And so we start to take these in, and we absorb them, and we believe them. And so when you are trying to elicit or visualize your goal, so what you really want to achieve or to solve this problem, what's going to come up for you is are your self-limiting beliefs. So things like that's not possible for you, you're not going to be able to do that, or that solution isn't possible because it's too difficult, or well, I've seen someone else do that, but it's easy for them because they have the money to do it, or they have the resources. So we can blame, we can blame ourselves. So something that's, it kind of falls into three categories. It's something that you believe is wrong with you. So maybe you don't have enough of a developed skill to achieve something or to complete something, or it's something out of your control. So it's other people or something external won't allow me to do it. Or finally, something that's too difficult. Well, it's way too difficult. I'm never going to be able to do that. It's too difficult, too many barriers in my way. And so these are stories that we tell ourselves. So we could spend the whole session talking about limiting beliefs and how to break them down. What I'd like you to do is, when you hear that little Darth Vader, your little demon in your head, whatever way you picture that, when you hear that little voice coming up saying, I can't do that, or any of the things that we've already mentioned, then I just want you to acknowledge it, and acknowledge what's happening. And you can smile to yourself then as you're really becoming more self-aware. You're recognizing when these things are coming up and what they are, and ask yourself some questions around it. So you can ask yourself things like, what if I'm wrong about that? Or has that been true in every case? There are lots of different questions that you can use to break down those limiting beliefs. And it's only really through breaking down the limiting beliefs that you can move forward and make change. So, you know, sometimes you've been given a problem, the solution to a problem from someone else, and that worked for them. But then you try to implement the same thing yourself and you go around in circles and you have to come back to the drawing board because it's not working. So there might be something underlying there that needs to be broken down first before you can push through and move on. So just want you to become aware of that. Another resource for you on limiting beliefs. I love Mark Manson. I don't know if anybody, tell me in the chat if you've heard of Mark Manson. So he wrote what is it? I can't think of the name. The Simple Art of Not Giving an F. I can't think of the name right now. I think that's it. But absolutely brilliant. I put the resource into the email. It's a follow-up email. Lorraine says, yeah, I just love his language. He's very down to earth, the way he describes things in layman's terms, but his research is psychology backed. He has a great article on self-limiting beliefs, and he goes through lots of different examples and how this kind of questions you can ask yourself to break those down. I've put the resource into the email anyway, so you're going to get that. But even if you just Googled Mark Manson, Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. Thank you. And Julie says Nancy Klein has written a lot about self-limiting beliefs. Julie, I actually have Nancy Klein in the references as well. So Nancy Klein, I was going to mention her a little bit later on when I talk about creating a thinking environment for yourself. Thank you very much for that, Julie. Yeah, Nancy Klein is one I go back to again and again. She talks about time to think, and so that's her one of her great books. So Mark Manson is on the limiting beliefs piece. Because we don't have a whole lot of time to delve into it too much today, but it did need to be talked about. I hope that's given you some food for thought as you're moving through these questions, even today live on the call, that you'll just recognize those, make a note of them. You're not going to probably dispel them right here today, but just make a note and then you can come back to that and poke and prod yourself a little bit and ask yourself some questions around it. So let's get into the model. So the goal, this is where you're going to try to establish for yourself where you want to end up. So what's the ideal solution for you? And now you don't have to ask yourself all of these questions. These are just some examples. I have loads of different examples of questions that I use to try and elicit this from myself, from my coaching clients. I've taken these from positivepsychology.com. I love that as a website for any psychology evidence-backed tools. But I mean, if you Google grow model questions, billions of results, no kidding. So you will be able to, if those aren't quite sitting with you or you feel like they're not getting to what you really need to get out, then there are lots of different resources online for helping you with this. So what would I like to achieve? So ask yourself, what would I like to achieve? Or best case scenario, what outcome would I hope for? Why is this outcome important to me? What's the bigger picture behind wanting to solve this issue? So the last couple, you're trying to get to the why, and this is really important because if you just outline what you want, but you haven't really unearthed your why or your emotionally driven why, it could be unlikely that you're going to commit and really stick to what you plan. So you know yourself when you have decided on a goal, whether it be fitness focused or a reading goal or a development goal, and you feel really committed at the start, but then you just don't see it through. Why is that? Have you really unearthed your emotionally driven why? And I probably talk about this on almost all of my workshops, but connecting to your why is massive. It's so important to motivate you, because really relying on willpower alone or intrinsic motivation is tough. And when our stores are depleted, if we're feeling low energy or teetering on burnout, then it's going to be really difficult to rely on willpower alone to see your goals through. And that's why it's really important to spend some time thinking about, why is this important to me to have this solved? Because that's going to drive you to get to an answer. And then number 5 there, what impact will this outcome have on me? So this is getting you to visualize your future self. So when this is resolved, what does that look like for me? And what does that feel like? And really connecting with that is very important. Connecting with your future self, we don't always do that. Don't do it enough, really, because that again is going to drive you and motivate you. So thinking about that person in the future who has this solved, how are they behaving? Would they keep putting this off? Would they procrastinate on this issue? So really connecting with how they would behave as well will really help you. So these kind of questions, what you're trying to do is elicit overall your destination. What do you want out of this coaching practice? So when this issue is resolved. So we're focusing today on a particular dilemma. So if you're focusing on your own, what does that look like? What does that outcome look like? Anyone any questions on this particular section on goal, or are we okay to keep motoring on? I'll take silence as okay. I mean chat silence. Okay, I think we're good. We're good. So reality, this is where you're establishing where you are right now. So very straightforward. Where am I right now in relation to my hoped outcome or goal? How are things going for me at the moment? What is the biggest barrier I'm facing at the moment? What works well for me right now? So not forgetting that not everything is going wrong. What's working well for you in relation to this challenge, or maybe if you really feel like nothing's going well for you in relation to this particular problem, then it's important to remind yourself of the good. And I know people talk a lot about gratitude these days, and it's evidence-based research to say that gratitude does connect us with a more positive mindset. It kind of forces you, when you are looking for the good, you are forced to keep an eye out for those things. When you know you're going to question yourself on that, or you're asking yourself, what am I grateful for every day, every morning, every evening, automatically it switches your subconscious to look for the good and the things that are going well, if you feel like lots of things are going wrong at the moment. Again, these questions, it's not an exhaustive list, and you don't have to ask all of them of yourself. Just ask as many as you need to get you to the point where you feel like, okay, I know my goal. Okay, I kind of feel like I'm okay with where I am at the moment. I understand it. And what have I tried already to reach this goal? So what efforts have you made? Sometimes we can make blanket statements like, oh, I've tried everything. But really, when you examine it, how much effort did you put into the steps that you've already taken? Or did you really explore everything that you could have explored in that particular approach or area? What has not worked well so far? So something that isn't working, that maybe you keep trying, and maybe it's about time to try something different. Who do I know who has achieved an outcome like this, and what do they do? That's a great question for identifying with someone who you can see has successfully managed through a particular challenge like this, or they're doing something quite well that you admire and you want to do. And that could be someone who's in your inner circle. It could be someone outside of that. It could be someone in your wider network, or it could be someone famous. You know, why not contact someone who you know has made a great success of a particular area that you're finding challenging? You never know. I contact people in the public eye quite a bit just to see, you know, and sometimes they do actually come back. I have a great example of a guy called Matt Bodnar, who runs a very successful podcast called The Science of Success. This guy is really very successful. He made the Forbes, 30 under 30. The podcasts are amazing, all psychology related. But I contacted him when I was looking at doing my master's, and I was trying to identify a topic for my psychology master's dissertation, and I had narrowed it down to two. And I was like, I want to ask someone who's talking to people in psychology related fields all the time, interviewing them. He knows what's going on in the world of psychology. So I said, why not ask him? And he did. He came back to me and he gave some great feedback. And I've kept in contact with him to, he wanted to see how that's going. And so you never know if there's someone out there who you believe has been successful in what you want to be successful in, why not? And mind the limiting beliefs, the little voice that's popping up there. Oh, they wouldn't want to talk to me. Oh, what would I say? Oh, that's so embarrassing. There's a few there. So what resources and support can I harness? So really thinking about what you already have within your orbit or your network. What resources that do you already have access to that can help you? And then you're moving into your options. So really what I want you to do here is do the blue sky thinking thing. So focus on the what, not the how. So the limiting beliefs are going to try and get you to think about, well, how would you do? No, you won't be able to do that because, or you can't do that. Or I, you could be in the I, you could be putting into the first person. So you might be saying, oh, I can't do that. I won't be able to do that. So just when you hear that, as you're going through your options, questions, then just put a pin, just acknowledge, okay, my self-limiting beliefs suggest that I can't do it, because let's put a pin in that. We'll explore it in a bit. For now, just throw down all the options. Just, as I say, blue sky thinking, no limits. So what options do I have to overcome my barriers? What is one thing I could try? Brilliant one, if time and money were irrelevant, because that stops a lot of us. The money mindset, our mindset around money, our beliefs around money can stop us from pushing through and really seeing what's possible. What strategies could I try? What would be the wrong way to approach this? So look at how not to do it, and then see if you can flip that on its head and do the opposite. What happens if I do not take any action? So I often use that with my coaching clients. So where they're stuck and they're afraid to take the leap into what they kind of know they should do. And then say, okay, let's explore both options. Let's explore doing nothing first. And I get them to go down that path, and for a few seconds into that path, people normally go, oh, okay, that's not even an option. I can't not do anything. So then you've got to try the other path. So then we go and explore that. Who can I ask for help? And what advice would I give my best friend about this? So often we dole out the best advice, and then it comes back around to something that actually sits in for us. And we say, gosh, I actually give that advice to other people, but I'm not taking it in myself. So that's a great question for getting you to, because we can often be more caring about other people than we are about ourselves. It's a great question for taking you out of your own self, and thinking about being in a caring position for someone else. How would I advise someone else on this? And then finally, the will. So this is your commitment, which is my favorite option so far. So of all the options that you've written out, all the answers to those previous questions, you should be looking at some actions in there. So what's your favorite of those? And what is the first step that I can take, even if it's just a baby step, like sending an email? When will I get started? Commit yourself to timing. So if it is, say, for example, okay, I'm going to send an email to that Matt Bodner, Science of Success podcaster. I'm going to send an email to him. Put a deadline, book the time in your calendar to write the email, set a deadline, and hold yourself accountable to it. What else do I need to do or keep in mind? So any other niggly feelings that you have, anything else that might need to be done that you haven't drawn out in the options section. How will I know if I've succeeded? So give yourself some measures. So set some measures against the actions. Like, so I'm saying I'm going to do this, but what does success look like in completing that action? How will I know? And write that out and picture what that looks and feels like, and really connect to the outcome of that measure. What am I missing? And on a scale of, I love this question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident am I? And you can fill in the rest of that yourself. So it might be, how confident am I that I'm going to fulfill my full action plan, that I'm going to see this through to a solution? How confident am I that I am going to commit to this particular action that I'm really a bit queasy about because it's a bit out there and it's uncomfortable. So that's a really good question, because then if you're still at a 6 or a 5 or lower on a particular action, then you can go and explore that yourself. So why is that still, why am I still not up there in the 8s, 9s or 10s on that particular action? So that's a really great question for you as well, to see where are still the areas that you're still not really confident. So that's the grow model. As Julie had mentioned earlier, about Nancy Klein and Time to Think, great book. She's got a couple of books. She's got More Time to Think as well. I'd start with Time to Think. I've put it in the resources of the email, so you have that. But what Nancy Klein talks about is creating a really good, great quality thinking environment for yourself. So when you are going to sit down and work through this challenge, and you're going to take all the grow model questions, you're going to work through each stage, book the time out in your calendar, gift yourself the time. Think about, how can you make it a more enjoyable process? Like if you're not looking forward to it, how can you make it more enjoyable? I like to put on some nice classical music, or maybe light a candle, whatever works for you to make it something that's more enjoyable. Look at it as a gift to yourself. You're going to have this resolved. You commit this time. It's time for you. And just protect that time the way you would a one-to-one with a team member, and the way you would protect that time for someone else, and protect that time for yourself. So that's the grow. So far, what we've looked at is the benefits of self-coaching. I hope you've seen the benefits throughout the session. We've gone very high level into the grow model, but I really hope that that's been useful so far. For those of you who feel like this has been amazing and all, but I still feel like I'm not going to be able to fulfill the steps of this. I don't know if this is going to work for me. I've done personal development sessions before, and it hasn't gotten me very far. I've been motivated in the session, but then the notes sit on my notebook and I don't ever look at them again, or I just don't feel like this is enough for me. If you don't feel like it's enough for you, then I'm doing this stuff all the time with people. I am coaching people one-to-one, dispelling those self-limiting beliefs, working through their identifying their goals. Like, you might have been looking at some of those questions today thinking, I don't even know what my goal is, and I don't know how to picture that. So it could be that you would need the help of some one-to-one coaching. If you feel like that's you, I am offering a 30-minute strategy session to anybody who would like to chat to me. That's a completely complimentary. It's a conversation where we identify what your goals are. If it's the particular challenge that you want to focus on, then we can talk about that. What does success look like? So we really use the grow model as we're going through that, so you can see that live. And then decide what's the best option for you. So it could be that you want to go off and do something else. It could be working with me. It could be working with a different type of coach. But I'll help you to get to that point. So if you'd like to avail of that, there is the QR code on your screen. So if you just open up your camera on your phone and you can hover your camera over that QR code, it'll bring you straight into my calendar and you can book one of the 30-minute slots.